There comes a time when the noise fades, friends stop calling, plans fall apart, the world no longer demands your attention, and in that silence, something ancient begins to stir. You may think you've been forgotten, left behind, but that stillness is not your enemy, it's the doorway to your next self. In the ancient halls of the Shaolin temple, monks were not thrown into crowds to find wisdom. They were led into the mountains, into isolation, because only there, away from the world, can you truly see what is inside you. In today's video, we'll explore the hidden purpose behind isolation, why the universe pulls certain people away from others at specific points in life, and how this silence, if understood, can awaken a level of personal mastery most never reach. You'll discover Shaolin principles rarely spoken outside the monastery walls, the reason monks embrace solitude without fear, the ancient belief that loneliness is a test of the soul's readiness, and the methods they use to turn stillness into strength. By the end, you will no longer fear isolation. You will understand it as a sacred signal, a deliberate invitation to begin again, more focused, more grounded, and more free than ever before. This message is not for everyone, but if you're still watching, then it's meant for you. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. I am Shi Heng Yi, a disciple of this timeless path. If you feel something awakening within you today, subscribe to our channel. This journey is only beginning. There is a reason the highest truths are not found in the center of the city, but on the edge of the world where the noise cannot follow. For centuries, the Songshan Mountains have guarded the Shaolin Temple like ancient sentinels. Their silence is not empty, it is alive. And in that stillness, monks have walked the path of inner awakening for generations. We do not train here by coincidence. We come here to leave behind the chaos, to listen without interruption, and to meet the self that only reveals itself in solitude. Every morning, before the sun breaks the horizon, the temple breathes in silence. The world is still asleep, but we are already awake, moving, meditating, breathing with the rhythm of nature. No devices, no distractions, no applause. Just wind through the trees and the echo of our own breath. This is the mountain's teaching. Without silence, you cannot hear your true voice. Chosen seclusion is not about escaping life. It's about stepping into life more fully, without distortion. When the world around you grows quiet, your thoughts become clearer. You begin to see what thoughts are yours and which ones were planted by others. You recognize what matters and what never did. The mountain does not flatter. It does not entertain. It reflects you. If your mind is scattered, the silence will make it louder. If your mind is still, the silence becomes your ally. That is why we come here, not to find peace, but to practice becoming peace. True mastery does not grow in comfort. It grows in clarity, and clarity only comes when the world has nothing left to say. When you are truly alone, there is no one left to impress, no one to disagree with, no need to wear a face that doesn't belong to you. In that space, the truth begins to surface, not the one you present to others, but the one that quietly lives beneath every mask. This is the moment when many become restless. They reach for distractions, for noise, for movement, because when all else falls away, what remains is the raw voice within, the one that whispers your fears, your regrets, your doubts, but also the one that holds your deepest wisdom. Shaolin mindfulness does not teach us to silence this voice. It teaches us to sit with it, to watch each thought rise and fall like breath, not to fight, not to feed, but to observe. In stillness, you learn to separate the passing clouds of emotion from the clear sky of your awareness. Discipline is not only physical, it is mental, emotional. The strength to remain present with discomfort, to witness your own mind without judgment, is one of the highest forms of mastery. Monks are not taught to escape suffering, but to know it, understand it, and move beyond it by going through it. Ancient traditions understood this well. In the silence of the inner temple, the false self begins to dissolve. The stories you were told, the roles you played, the fears you inherited, they lose their grip. What remains is something quieter, but stronger, a presence that does not waver. Solitude, then, is not loneliness. It is the training ground of the soul, where the warrior sharpens not his blade, but his being, where clarity rises from confusion, and where you begin to recognize the one who has always been watching, waiting to be remembered. Pain arrives without permission. It does not knock, it enters. And yet it brings more than suffering. It brings instruction. The Shaolin path teaches that pain is not the problem. It is the resistance to pain that causes suffering to deepen. When discomfort rises, whether in the body, the heart, or the mind, our first instinct is to push it away, to distract ourselves, to numb it, to run. But in doing so, we postpone the lesson it came to offer. Pain speaks a language that comfort never could. It shows us our limits. It reveals where we are still attached, still afraid, still untrained. In the temple, we do not flee from the burn of long training or the silence of lonely meditation. We breathe through it, we enter it, because each moment of discomfort is a mirror. It shows us not only what we feel, but who we become when things no longer go our way. Shaolin discipline is not about perfection, it is about presence, staying with the breath when the body trembles, returning to the posture when the mind protests, meeting each challenge not with fear but with curiosity. This is how monks transform hardship into strength, not by conquering pain, but by understanding it, not by denying emotions, but by allowing them to pass through without resistance. In doing so, we soften, not into weakness, but into wisdom. Pain can refine what comfort cannot. It humbles pride. It deepens empathy. It awakens hidden strength. To walk the path of mastery is to bow to pain, not as a victim, but as a student. Because only through feeling fully can we grow completely. The pain is not against you, it is shaping you. If you stop fighting it, you will hear what it has been trying to teach you all along. There is a power in doing less, not out of idleness, but from understanding. In the Taoist streams that flow beneath Shaolin wisdom, there is a principle known as Wu Wei, action without force, movement without struggle. It is not the absence of effort, but the absence of unnecessary resistance. Modern life teaches constant striving, always reaching, always pushing, always controlling. But nature does not live this way. Rivers do not force their path, they follow it. Trees do not rush to grow, they rise in stillness, rooted in patience. The ancient masters observed this and saw truth. The more we fight the current, the more exhausted we become. Solitude becomes a fertile ground for rediscovering this flow. With no one to impress, no demands pulling at you, something shifts. You begin to notice the natural rhythm of your breath. You move when it feels right. You rest without guilt. You stop trying to hold everything together and find that nothing falls apart. This is the beginning of alignment. You act when the time is right, and you wait when the moment calls for stillness. It is not passivity, it is wisdom. The tiger does not waste energy chasing every sound in the forest. It watches, it waits, then moves with precision, not panic. Wu Wei teaches that not all battles must be fought, not every hill must be climbed today, and not every goal must be reached through strain. When your inner state becomes calm, your actions become clear, you begin to trust life again, trust timing, trust silence. This is not weakness, this is mastery of a quieter kind. The strength of emptiness lies in its openness, ready to hold, to respond, to become exactly what the moment needs and nothing more. When the world around you feels uncertain, the simplest act done with presence becomes sacred. In the quiet spaces of solitude, where time seems to stretch and thoughts wander freely, structure is not a restriction, it is a sanctuary. Shaolin monks live by rhythm, rising before dawn. They begin their day not with urgency, but with intention, sitting in stillness, moving with breath, eating with awareness. Each act, no matter how small, is done with care and attention. This is not for performance, it is for alignment. In isolation, the absence of outer obligations can feel freeing or disorienting. Without structure, the mind searches for distractions, for stimulation, for anything to escape the stillness. But when daily rituals are in place, the mind begins to settle. Repetition becomes refinement, focus becomes nourishment. A cup of tea taken in silence, a walk at the same hour each morning, 10 breaths counted slowly before beginning a task. These are not meaningless routines. They are anchors. In the floating sea of solitude, they hold you steady. They remind you who you are when no one is watching. Discipline is often misunderstood as harshness, but in the ancient traditions, it is a form of compassion, to keep your mind steady, to care for your body, to honor the day with presence. This is how monks train, not only in the courtyard, but in the quiet moments between. Mastery is not found in grand gestures. It is found in consistency, in returning again and again to the practice, especially when it feels dull or difficult. Over time, these small acts become a path, a way of being. And through that path, solitude no longer feels like emptiness. It becomes space, structured, sacred, and alive with purpose. Silence is not empty, it is full of unseen truths. But the ego does not want to hear them. It fears what is quiet, because in the quiet it cannot perform. It cannot seek approval or chase distraction. It begins to lose its grip. The ego is built on noise, on the stories we tell ourselves, the roles we play, the constant need to be seen and validated. In solitude, none of these have meaning. There is no one to impress, no mirror to reflect a crafted image. What's left is raw awareness, still, unfiltered. This is why isolation can feel heavy. The old identity begins to crumble. Thoughts rise in protest. The mind searches for a familiar voice, a quick escape, anything to confirm that it still matters in the eyes of others. And when it finds nothing, panic may follow. But beneath that panic is freedom. Shaolin teachings do not seek to destroy the ego by force. Instead, they let it dissolve naturally in silence. Through meditation, through presence, through simple, mindful living, the layers begin to peel away. What remains is not a loss, it is a return. In ancient practice, silence was not avoidance, it was purification. Monks embraced the stillness because they knew it revealed the deeper self, the soul that does not need to be admired, only remembered, the self that does not fight for attention because it is already whole. To sit in silence is to watch the false self slowly loosen its hold. And yes, it may feel like something inside is dying, but what dies is not the truth, it is the illusion. And what takes its place is not louder but wiser, calmer, steady like the mountain, quiet like the sky. In the stillness of nature, nothing is hurried, yet everything is complete. The tree does not ask when it will bear fruit. The river does not question its direction. Each element moves in quiet rhythm, guided by something ancient and unseen. This is the wisdom Shaolin monks observe and live by. Far from the noise of the world, the natural world becomes the first teacher, not through words, but through presence. The soft rustle of leaves, the steady rhythm of wind across stone, the changing colors of the sky, each is a lesson in patience, in surrender, in balance. In solitude, this connection grows stronger. Without screens or noise, the senses wake up. You begin to hear what you once ignored. The chirp of a single bird, the pulse of your own breath, the warmth of sunlight across your skin. Slowly the boundaries between inner and outer begin to blur. Simplicity is not a loss, it is a return. A return to the awareness that you are not separate from nature, you are part of it. Your breath follows the rhythm of trees. Your heart moves with the seasons. When you live in tune with these cycles, peace no longer needs to be chased. It rises on its own. Ancient teachings understood this deeply. They did not seek to dominate nature, but to harmonize with it. To live close to the earth was to live close to truth. That truth still waits in every sunrise, every drop of rain, every breath taken in silence. Reconnecting through simplicity is not weakness, it is alignment. It is remembering that balance was never something to achieve, it was always something to return to. And nature, in its quiet generosity, is always ready to guide you back. There is a stage on every true path where the world fades into silence, not because you are lost, but because you are being reshaped. Throughout history, warriors, sages, and monks have all passed through this quiet threshold. Isolation is not exile, it is initiation. In the old traditions, time alone was never seen as punishment. It was sacred preparation. The young warrior was sent into the mountains, not to escape life, but to meet life without distractions, without comfort, without applause, to sit with the raw self and see what remains. This is where the inner battle begins. Without the noise of the outside world, the noise within grows louder. Doubt, fear, restlessness, they rise like smoke. But this is the fire of refinement. It burns away what is borrowed, weak, or untrue. What survives the flame is what was always meant to last. In Shaolin tradition, solitude is not idleness, it is a test of depth. Days are shaped by practice, stillness, and discipline. Through repetition and silence, clarity begins to form. The mind becomes sharp, the heart becomes still, and in that stillness, a new strength is born, one that does not depend on the outside world. You return not as who you were, but as someone carved by stillness. Someone tempered by the absence of comfort. The world may not have changed, but you have. Your presence speaks differently. Your choices carry weight. You no longer react, you respond. This is the path of the inner warrior, the one who does not chase power but cultivates it quietly, in silence, in discipline, in solitude. not to stay apart from the world, but to move through it with purpose, unshaken and awake. Not all growth is visible. Some of it happens quietly, in the shadows of solitude. While the world continues its noise and motion, you are being shaped in silence. The time apart, though it may feel still on the surface, is filled with deep transformation beneath. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the most powerful changes do not come with celebration, they come in stillness. While others chase recognition, the disciplined path leads inward, away from performance, away from noise, toward presence. In solitude, distractions fade, the mind clears, the body learns to move with intention, the heart begins to open, and the breath becomes a guide. This is not retreat, it is alignment. Like a blade being sharpened in the quiet, you are being prepared for what lies ahead. And when the time comes to return back into relationships, into responsibility, into the rhythms of the world, you do so with a steadier step. You carry less weight because you've let go of what no longer serves you. You speak less, but your words hold more. You do less, but with greater impact. This is not the same version of you that left. This is the version shaped by fire and refined by silence. The one who doesn't need to prove, only to be, who listens more than reacts, who responds with clarity rather than being pulled by emotion. Isolation was never the end of the path. It was the preparation, a sacred pause before the next beginning. And now, you return, not louder, not prouder, but deeper, more awake and fully present. This is the quiet strength the world forgets, until someone brings it back into the light. In a world that moves fast and demands more, being pulled into silence can feel like loss. But it is not loss, it is sacred timing. Isolation is not life falling apart, it is life calling you inward, to pause, to reflect, to remember who you are without the noise. The stillness is not empty, it is full of lessons. It is where your mind quiets, your breath deepens, and your true self begins to speak again. Through ancient Shaolin wisdom, we learn that this pause is not something to resist, but to honor. Use this time. Create rhythm in your days. Sit in silence, walk slowly, breathe with intention. Let go of the need to be seen and focus instead on learning to see yourself clearly. And when the time comes to step forward again, you will not carry the weight of your past. You will carry the presence, peace, and quiet strength that only solitude can teach. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. If these words speak to something within you, gently like this video and subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire. May your path be steady, your heart clear, and your spirit strong.